Time for a Club Kart update in the Cycle Kart Workshop. I'm going to be doing a couple of incidental things. This will be a short video in preparation for a build day tomorrow. So keep an eye out on Steve's channel for those videos, and I do the in-between ones. So let's see what I'm up to now. We received some parts from Renegade Cyclekarts. And prior to this, originally we got the chassis and I think the front axle. But the other parts came later. That's why we've been focused on the body mainly. So in tomorrow's build we could put a few parts on. I'm not familiar with everything they sent, but I'll do the best I can. First off, you know the chassis is designed to accept the differential. This is the first chassis that will get that. It's the prototype, and it's the VTR 001 chassis. Why is it VTR? Because Steve and I have both been cycle karting about 10 years, and he came along when I was building the monocar and came by. I remember it well. There might even be video of it when he came over. But he took some measurements, went back, made his chassis, and then he built several cycle karts. And then along comes Mark Parnell, and Steve showed him that chassis, which had been modified. He took the monocar chassis, made it his own, and then gave it to Mark, and Mark kind of made it his own. And that's the way cycle karting is. We've been sharing information for years. So this is the Vinson Thomas Renegade chassis 001 for those interested. And here's the differential with the articulated bearings. We have to install the sprocket and the disc on the pumpkin here, and there's a spacer that's part of this that makes it line up with the torque converter. So we don't have that spacer yet, but that's coming. But we have plenty here to work with. So these are part of the rear hubs. I think we still need the other half. Here's the axle, the kingpins. Boy, these are nice. The spindles, those are nice too. Here's the U-bolts and plates to install the front axle. The springs are already on the car. Funny, we didn't mention that last week in our update. These are the plates that span across the opening at the top of the chassis, the rear axle. You know, these axles you can remove. They're top loaders, I guess you could say. In the old days, everything thread through the bearings, and it went together fine the first time, but if you ever had to take it apart, man, it was tough. So these strengthen the chassis back up, go into some threaded inserts. And these are the steering parts, the shaft, 5/8, the locking collars. This is quite ingenious the way he's done this. This will go to any angle. This particular one mounts to the front of the chassis. This one mounts to the dash, like that. And I really like the way he did that. So, well, anyway, that's the parts we have now. We'll start putting these together tomorrow, what things we do have. Last Sunday during the build day, Steve started working on a piece of aluminum that would go here that comes down, stops short of the end, and then rolls. And he got started on it, and I'm going to finish it up. Basically finesse the joints. So to figure out where the roll would go, I made a pattern. I love patterns. I traced the piece of steel that Steve had made, and then I practiced. This is just a poster board from Walgreens. And I practiced on the roll, and I figured out this is where I want it. There's a line here that represents where the grill will be. So let me show you the piece of metal. Put that here. So this is 40 thousandths aluminum. I finessed it right here at these joints, and I rolled it by hand on the slip roll out there. The rolls are a couple inches in diameter, so it really was, I just bent it right over, no problem. Being 40 thousandths, it was pretty easy. We're holding them in place with these Clecos. I don't know if you can see that. Cleco lock, C-L-E-C-O. These are 5/32 Clecos. Steve has a bunch of them. They're 1/8 inch, so it's just a matter of preference. So it goes in here like so, and then locks in. And it's nice. Holds everything in place. And then we use the same size rivet, 5/32 dome blind rivet aluminum. Copper state nut and bolt, 100 pack. So we're using the Clecos so that we can take it apart and paint it. So I'm happy with the way this turned out. Steve and I worked on it together, and that'll be a nice piece. So I'm going to move on to something else here. Let's see what else there is to do. All right, so you see this little bump out right here? That's on both sides, and that's there so that you can get to the spring shackles, nuts and bolts from the outside of the car. You don't have to get inside here after it's all finished, where it's hard to work on it. It makes for a cleaner interior, and but in the process there is a small interference problem I want to show you, and let's see if I can solve that issue. Here I've used this clamp right here to compress the spring, and if I keep going we're going to have an interference problem right here. It almost clears it, so I'm going to get in there and try to clean that up, minimize how much filing. We started drilling holes, but I have another method I want to try. Same problem on both sides, so I think I can solve this. Well, that's a little tough to handle, but the idea is to make it easier to file it into submission. Well, that's like fingernails on a chalkboard. Alright, well that might be a little bit bigger than it needs to be, but it looks okay. Alright, I'll get the other side done and move on to something else. Well, last week when I put these tabs here, I kind of got ahead of myself. They should have been over here because we need another hoop to come up and go over the top and be a couple inches away. I just got ahead of myself. So I'm creating a new hoop. Here's the pattern. And I'm using the bender much like Steve did on these other hoops out of 1/2 inch square stock. So let me show you. I've done 1/2 of it so far, so let me show you where I'm at. I'm using this bender, same one Steve used to make the hoops that he bent up. And I've been working on this one, and you can see that I've got it pretty good. I'm happy with that. I still have to do this other side, and you really only get one shot at it. So I determined where the radius began and ended, and then these lines are spaced 1/4 of an inch apart, and that gave me some reference as I started working it around. The end result is it's a 90-degree bend ultimately, and then these marks are when I was doing the final finessing. I had to unbend it a little bit and then rebend it, and this was showing me right where to apply pressure, and all in all I was happy with that. So continuing on, I've got to make a set of marks here and get to bending, so hopefully it'll work out. Alright, I have it in the bender, and I have my first mark roughly in the center. Spin this around. I'm supporting the end there, trying to keep it square and level. So now I'm just going to start working it around just a little bit at a time. I'm not hitting the mark exactly, but I'm close to it. And I'm trying to bend it the same amount each time. I don't want to go too far too soon. But I just keep working it. And I can go back and work on a spot. So you can see how it's starting to bend. So I just keep on it going. And if I go too far, it's pretty easy to unbend it. So I'm trying not to kink it. As smooth a radius as I can get. So you can see how I'm getting there. Here I finished bending it. Looks pretty good, I'd say. It'll fly. I haven't trimmed it to length yet, but that's an easy task. So I think this will be the end of this video. I want to keep this one short. I'll finish this up tomorrow during that build day. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you tomorrow.